Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. We got a whole lot of outtakes for you. Man, all I can tell you is that this wasn't the week that Donald Trump wanted his people out there defending him. This wasn't the week for that. I am sorry. This was not the week for that. But before we get started with the program, I want to give our regular, what should I call it? An uplifting message to us all. And that is, for all of you who believe that Donald Trump should not win the election, that it is existential that he loses, to ensure that, yes, there's a YouTube stream and it's on right now. I'm taking a look at it that says live right now. So yes, there's a YouTube stream on today as well. And I'm looking at it now and I think it says live. So please go ahead and check it out again. The link for the YouTube stream is also at the top. I don't think I forgot to post it. I think it's posted fine. Anyhow, let me know if you're still having problems finding it. Anyhow, folks, a lot of people know that it is existential. We have the climate, Donald Trump has come in and messed up a whole lot of stuff, took us out of the climate control stuff and all these other issues that have to get taken care of. And it has to be mitigated. We have to get that fixed. And another 4 years of Donald Trump will probably be problematic. It probably would do material harm, not just to our nation, but to them all. But I don't think there's much for us to worry about. And what I really want to say is, I want you all. Michael, did I put a wrong link somewhere? I need to know that so I can correct it if necessary. This is what I want everybody to understand, because Democrats, progressives, and thinking Republicans are going crazy. They're scared. They're thinking, the polls are going to close. This guy's going to win. I want to tell everybody that you should stop worrying. Worrying does not solve the problem. The only thing that solves the problem is all of us doing our job. And that means not only speaking to those people who agree with us that we need to get Dr. Trump out of there, but we also must speak to those people in our families. And I have a special message for my white brothers and sisters. And please listen to this in the tonality that I'm saying here, because this is something that I need to ask of you to do. Right now, Democrats in general have not won the white vote in a very, very long time. And the reason why is there has when Nixon came with the I don't remember what it's called, that thing where the Southern strategy. The idea was to create a permanent split between white Americans and everybody else. Okay? That is what they wanted to do. And they've been marginally successful. Well, actually, they have been successful in that Democrats have since to win the white vote. And it isn't that Democrats don't stand for the things that all Americans stand for, but what they have been successfully able to do is create this separation among people, and a separation that really isn't there. They made too many believe that we are out to take something that is your birthright. And that is so far from the truth, right? But it has been synced into the memories of too many white Americans. Nobody wants to do that. And by the way, folks, if you're just joining us, I ask you so kindly, I beg thee so kindly to please share our program so that others can kind of get the messages that we're talking about. So, I mean, that is what they've been successful in doing, right? So, of course, there are a whole lot of white Americans that don't fall for the crap. They don't fall for it. But there are enough, what do you call those things? There are enough incidentals that these guys can actually use to convince some that, you know, you're at a disadvantage, that these people are taking away your birthright, that these others are taking away things that, you know, that is rightfully yours. And in doing so, we have this sort of a dichotomy. Buenas, Demetrio G. Let me tell you what concerns me here and why I tell you I have a big special favor to ask of my white brothers and sisters. And it goes like this. Black folk in general, 80-90% of them are going to vote their interest in voting the Democratic ticket because it supports policies that they support. Latinos, to a smaller effect, are going to do the same thing. They're going to support the policy, they're going to support the candidates who support middle-class centric policies. Okay? But there's a sect in the white community that only you can reach. And you won't reach all of them because, again, when I speak to that sect of the community, it's so much more effort to get across first them seeing who somebody like me is, my hue, etc., which presents a problem in communication that you don't have to overcome, but that you can. So what I ask you to do is, even in as much as your mother, your granny, your aunt, your uncle, and all these others, you may just know they're Trump-supporting loyalists that will never leave. Like I speak about in my book, find the spike that the virus can tack onto. And only you can figure that out in your conversations with them. Find that point that the two of you are going to have that common ground that gives you the entry without, the entry to tell that person something they normally would not have listened to, and then go in for the infection. And this is a benign infection, of course. Bring it home to them. And again, it's not going to work for everybody, but it's going to work with enough. I think it can work with enough white Americans that Democrats, for once again, win the entire slate of white Americans as well. Because the policies that we are coming to support are the policies that all Americans want. But again, I could do it, but there's so many walls that have to come down first, because they have to get over all the misconceptions that they have of somebody in my skin. They have to get over all the misconception that they have, sons that they have of somebody in my culture, all that kind of stuff. And with 5 weeks or with 50 days left with the election, we don't have a lot of time to do that. So again, I'm saying, folks, it is incumbent on my white brothers and sisters who understands the concepts of what progressive values mean to go ahead and not back up from talking to your white family, your white aunt, your white uncle, your white friends, not to confront them, but to break bread with them and get into that spot where they start to listen to you. And, I work with the Coffee Party, I work with the Bridge Alliance, I work with a lot of these other places that do that very well. And I'm saying you can too. Anyhow, what is the program going to be about today? We are going to have a great program. Today I was scheduled to put on Jalip, I forgot his name now, but the president of Demas. I interviewed the president of Demas, and he was supposed to be on today, but Because of the length of the program today, I couldn't fit his interview into today, so I'll try to play him tomorrow or Wednesday. It's going to be a good interview. I think it's going to be an uplifting interview. I think you guys are going to love that particular interview. So hang with me, folks. If you're just joining me, please do remember to go ahead and share these programs. We need it so badly. Okay, what is the program today? Title of the program, título del programa hoy es, title of the program today is, and let me put that on the screen. I like to show you guys what we're doing. Cable news derailed Trump spokespersons. Taiwan has the proper COVID-19 response. Trump spokespersons, they got a rude awakening this weekend. I mean, it started on Saturday, but it continued on Sunday. And I didn't see too many of them on today. Anyhow, and the reason why is the truth is coming out. And the journalists are starting to see that they are the fourth estate. And it is their responsibility to actually inform. In fact, the reason we have so many Trump supporters, I do not blame the Trump supporters at all. I blame the mainstream media for taking the lead of the fringe media. The fringe media says something and it percolates into the mainstream media, and somehow it then becomes a plausible discussion. If we left the fringe media as a fringe media and only concentrated on reality, we would never, ever, ever have to worry about throwing your grandmother over the cliff, death panels, all these things that came out of the crazy media would have made things so much better, and we would have had a completely different history. So anyhow, what are the clips I'm going to show you? Scaramucci scorches Trumpsters, 40%, not Teflon Don, but crazy glue with emphasis on crazy. Ouch, Chuck Todd destroys Trump with his own words and that of his experts. Chuck Todd strikes again. He busts RNC's chair BS justification for Trump's COVID-19 failure. Jake Tapper threw Peter Navarro off his program for lying. Stephanopoulos journalistic moment. Trump spokesman exposed in real time. See how single-payer intelligent leadership and central management solved COVID-19 in Taiwan. And Trump says he has better relationships with dictators. Should that be telling you something, my brothers and my sisters? I think it should be telling you something. So anyhow, let's get started with that first one, Scaramucci. Let's see what Scaramucci's talking about. Anthony Scaramucci had a lot to say today on the news, but I want you to listen to this particular segment, and then we'll take it on the other side.
How can we have this guy be the leader of the free world or the leader of this great Republican democracy? And so if that's a warning label to people, and Bob Woodward writes it in the last chapter of his book, he's got 50 plus years of experience as an investigative political journalist, and he says very clearly that the president is unfit. We didn't even get to the derogation of the military, Alex. I mean, we got a lot going on in the last 7 or 8 days. It's one thing after the next. It's not just the president's family, the president's lawyer, the generals that have worked for the president, people like myself, Bob Woodward. I sort of don't understand why he's got 40% support. They call it Teflon Don, but I think it's sort of like crazy glue, emphasis on the word crazy, that there's a group of people still attached to him with this level of support.
Yes, it's sort of like crazy glue. What I think, however, I want to add sort of a corollary to that. I think it is high time now for us to understand that we have a messaging problem, and that I think with good messaging, that sticky glue, or rather that crazy glue, can in fact become a little bit more pasty. Then with a little bit more heat, we can melt it and have all those people that are crazy glued onto him start to peel off. Here's the thing, they need a place to land. They really need a place to land. And I think it is time for us to be more strategic in pulling those people off and making sure they have, in fact, a place to land, making sure that they can do so with a little bit of dignity. I'm Egberto Willies, host of Politics Done Right, an independent news program. Oops, I went a little further than normal. But anyhow, here's the thing. So we can actually get somewhere. I mean, we can actually get somewhere, and that's what I'm proving now. What a lot of people are saying is, don't waste your time trying to convince people. We have to work on our base, and that's true. We have to get our people out to vote, our base, meaning the people who we know right up front share these values. But I'm gonna tell you a little secret, okay? The reason why a lot of folks don't, just say work on your base is that they miss one important thing. The one important thing that they miss is that if you take a look at people who vote, let me give an example. If I have 10 people that normally don't vote, but if they vote, they would vote in their interest, my interest, etc. I may get 2 or 3 of them to go vote. I'm telling from experience that it's so hard to get non-voters to vote unless something very material starts to happen to them. But if I can spend some time on half the time on somebody who always votes, even if they don't vote like me, but I figure that there is an inkling that they want something new, right? I tell you what, that may actually be something worth investing your time in. Again, it's strategic. It is something you have to do on your own. It's something you have to decide how much convincing you want to, how much time you want to convince, and the price analysis. What do you call that? The ratio, the outcome to performance ratio, all that kind of stuff. You have to figure out if that's going to work for you. So but I think we all have to think about working that way about that. Okay, the next clip here is. Well, I'll just go ahead and play it. I bring it up in the next clip, so it should be fine. Well, one more time, Donald Trump gets hit pretty hard. And this time, surprisingly harder than normal from Chuck Todd. I want you to listen to this, and let's take it on the other side.
At the very moment President Trump hoped to go on offense against Joe Biden, he found himself playing defense again. There was the continuing fallout from the Atlantic magazine story in which he was reported to have called Americans who died in war losers and suckers. Bigger still was Bob Woodward's latest book, Rage, and the audio tapes that went with it. We learned that Mr. Trump knew in late January just how deadly the coronavirus was, that it was airborne, knew it was far worse than the flu, but chose to mislead the public for months to avoid panic, so the president claims. Not surprisingly, some conservatives, but not many elected ones, defended the president for remaining calm, saying, you don't yell fire in a crowded movie theater. It's true, but you do if the theater is actually on fire.
This whack job that wrote the book, he said, well, Trump knew a little bit. They wanted me to come out and scream, people are dying, we're dying. We have to be calm.
President Trump doing damage control, defending his choice to mislead the public and knowingly play down the coronavirus for months, at the same time acknowledging its seriousness to Bob Woodward in private.
You just breathe the air. That's how it's passed. It's also more deadly than your strenuous flus. This is deadly stuff.
But publicly,
We're finding very little problem. Now, you treat this like a flu.
to Woodward,
Now it's turning out it's not just old people, Bob. Just today and yesterday, some startling facts came out. It's not just older
Yeah, exactly.
young people, to plenty of young people.
but publicly,
Young people are almost immune to this disease. The younger, the better.
the president admitted to Woodward he intentionally minimized the danger.
The vast majority of Americans, the risk is very, very low.
I wanted to always play it down. I still like playing it down
Yes,
because I don't want to create a panic.
Why did you lie to the American people, and why should we trust what you have to say
That's
now?
a terrible question, and the phraseology, I didn't lie. What I said is we have to be calm, we can't be panicked.
But as he cautions against panic, this week the president took to Twitter with scare tactics that have animated his campaign. If I don't win, America's suburbs will be overrun with low-income projects, anarchists, agitators, looters. No city, town, or suburb will be safe. If Biden gets in, this violence is coming to the suburbs and fast. And as the president strikes an optimistic tone on the virus,
We're rounding the turn, and it's happening. I mean, it's happening. You see it.
the nation's top infectious disease expert is pushing back.
I'm sorry, but I have to disagree with that because
if you look at the thing that you just mentioned, the statistics, Andrea, they're disturbing. You know, we're plateauing at around 40,000 cases a day, and the deaths are around 1,000.
Dr. Anthony Fauci says the United States may not get back to normal until the end of 2021.
There were times when I was out there telling the American public how difficult this is, how we're having a really serious problem. You know, and the president was saying it's something that's going to disappear, which obviously is not the case. When you downplay something that is really a threat, that's not a good thing.
Now, that was an excellent piece putting out what the president did wrong. That was an excellent piece showing that the president is a liar. That's an excellent piece showing that the president cannot be trusted. There's one thing that's missing from that piece, and that is the president killed or caused the death of likely over 150,000 Americans because by misleading them, by lying to them about the infectiousness about this disease, by lying to them about who gets this disease, by lying to them about how hard this disease is on the body, it made a whole lot of people take their guards down. By not enforcing or trying to challenge all governors to put masks on people's face after him knowing that this disease was airborne, it also caused the deaths of many. The thing about it here is this. It is okay to say the president is a liar. It is okay to say all these issues. We must connect the dots. And the dot says Donald Trump caused the deaths of thousands, tens of thousands of Americans. And for that, he not only should not be reelected, but he should be thrown in jail for voluntary manslaughter. And, you know, I mean, I think that goes without saying, right? Voluntary manslaughter. In other words, you knowingly cause the death of somebody based on your actions, right? I mean, I wrote an article for Daily Kos a few months ago, and that is what I titled it. I titled it that it is time for politicians to start getting arrested for voluntary manslaughter. And Tom Hartman picked up the article, and I'm listening to Tom Hartman's show one afternoon, and I hear, I ran across this article on Daily Kos, and I love this article. It was titled. And I'm like, that sounds like my title. Then he said, like, by Egberto. And I think I had already known Tom Hartman then. I had interviewed him a couple of times before that. But he just picked up the article. I was like, okay, cool. If Tom, the bastion of liberal radio, picked up my stuff, I can't argue about that. All right, let me go ahead and kind of acknowledge my wonderful people that are here right now, since we're at about 24. Bridge MCP, how you doing, my friend? So you listened to the interview, Bridge. Thank you very much for listening to that interview. I'll play that on a day that I don't have a lot of material out here. So think about a 23-minute interview from the Bridge Alliance. Thank you for listening to that interview. Michael Radnin, welcome aboard. AVQ, Paulette Stanzel, welcome aboard. Norman Reynolds, welcome aboard. Norman, saw your ride today, man. Man, I almost killed myself today. I am so tired you did not imagine. Tomorrow, I think I got to take it easier. Let's see who else is here. Tank 28, my right-wing brother. Hey, you know I'm going to be talking to you, Tank, because you're going to be voting progressive pretty soon, brother. Love you, man. Let's see. Lee Grant. Lee Grant is here. Another one of my good conservative guys. Love you guys. Let's see, Tank 28, I got you, Tank. I'm not going to call you out again. Dimitri OG, mi hermano, ¿cómo estás, señor? Gracias por estar aquí. Let's see who else is here. Who else is here? I saw some other names. Christine Park, welcome aboard. And I don't see, if I missed you, just go ahead and drop me another line, and we'll go ahead and do it. For those of you who are just coming with us, folks, we have started accepting, or actually what it is that YouTube allow us to do memberships now. So please go to YouTube. If you're listening to YouTube, just click on that join button. And if you click on that join button, you can become an official member of our I gotta. You know what? I need to give our posse a name. Let's do this, folks. I need your help. I need your help. I want to create a posse name for all of us that come out here almost every day to listen to Politics Done Right. So why don't you give me some names that I can call our posse? We're going to have a posse. Give me a name. Hey, Roberto Luis. Hola, hermano. Hey, Roberto, I just was looking at my phone and I saw your workout. Man, you're killing it. Folks, here's the deal. Please give our posse a name, and either throw it into the feed or drop me a line at info@politicsdoneright.com and say, okay, let's create a group called, and it's going to be our posse, and where we can shoot the bull. And also when we do our Zooms, I'm gonna have some Zooms where let's come on and do some pictures and just kind of shoot the bull. So, folks, if you want to be a member, go ahead. You have a lot of ways to be members, but please go ahead and go to YouTube. YouTube, I think I have this stuff at $1.99 at YouTube just to be a YouTube member. But what we need are Patreons. So please go to politicsdoneright.com/Patreon, politicsdoneright.com/Patreon to become a patron of our show. You can support us also at PayPal by going to politicsdoneright.com/PayPal. That's politicsdoneright.com/PayPal. You can, again, here's a link. If you're not on YouTube right now, but you'd like to subscribe to our YouTube, that is a link to the YouTube right there, politicsdoneright.com/YouTube. And of course, you can shop at our store. If you notice on one of the interviews that I did there, the Politics Posse, I kind of like that. Any other names? And by the way, go to politicsdoneright.com/store. Politicsdoneright.com. Taola Wilson, get it? We are way left, but our policies are always right. You know what? Hey, Tiala, let me tell you what I think that is. I think that is we have a name on top, and that comes under it, because I like that as the, what do you call those things, the second title? What do you call it? The subtitle? Get it? Because here it goes. Listen to what Paula says, guys. Tiala Wilson. Get it? We are way left, but our policies are always right, in quotation. I like that. So I like Politics Posse, and I like that subtitle. Keep on sending me stuff. Let's see what we can actually use to build on a group, on a posse. And let's try to get this stuff up and running in 2-3 weeks or so that we can have some sort of como una familia, ¿sabes? Like a family that we can meet and shoot the bull every so often. Okay, let's see. Let's continue with the clips. I have another clip here from Chuck Todd interviewing the Ronna McDaniel. Let's see. Tiala Wilson says, nice. Aiming for equality makes for righteous policy. That's a true statement. Now, you see, you're coming with a tertiary title now for me, Tiala. See what I'm saying? Tertiary title. All right, let's go ahead and listen to Chuck again, and then we'll be right back. Chuck Todd, he was on a roll today. First, he started his intro to meet the press with a complete decimation of the president. He showed that the president was that complete liar, and they had it sequenced perfectly, where he had the dates, the time he said something, contrast with the lie that he told. It was clinical. It was done perfectly. Then now he has Ronna McDaniel, the chair of the Republican National Committee. And what does he do? He simply sliced her comments. Now, I removed some of the extraneous stuff that she talks about, because, Republicans try to get on these stations and get very wordy, and they get wordy so that they can take up all the time as they're misleading, so that we can't get substantive. Well, he got pretty substantive. Check this out, and then we'll take it on the other side.
Think of what would have happened if he'd have gone out and said, this is awful. We should all be afraid. We don't have a plan. It would have been a run on the banks. It would have been a run on the hospitals. It would have been a run on the grocery stores. As it was already hard to get some of the things we needed in the grocery store. And I think history will look back on him well as how he handled this pandemic.
The president also fought a mask mandate and sort of was discouraging for people to wear masks. He rushed and encouraged governors to open up states too quickly, causing the second rise of this. So everything you just said there, that was a few actions, but they've not been consistent. I mean, if we had the president endorsing wearing masks earlier, There's plenty of scientific studies that would have saved lives. So the president, it's hard to accept what you just said, considering how hard he fought mask wearing.
Well, I think 2020 vision is, in hindsight, is always, perfect, right? But as a new pandemic hit our shores, as a new virus came, and to say that he should have known then what we know now, 7 months later, isn't really fair. So as the science has come forward, the president has said we should wear masks, we should do the things that the science is telling us to do. But we can do that and balance. But we can't do that and balance opening up our economy.
No. Look, he never said, he never encouraged mask wearing. He waited months to encourage mask wearing. He defied mask wearing, and finally, he did a tweet about wearing a mask. He refused to wear it in public, and now you have a political divide in this country. Do you not see the direct correlation between the president not encouraging mask wearing and the fact that fewer Republicans wear masks than independents or Democrats?
I don't think this is politically dividing at all. I wear masks. My kids wear masks. My husband wears a mask. This isn't a Republican or Democrat thing, whether you wear masks.
I'm talking about the president.
This is about individual freedom. And the president wears a mask, too. I mean, the president has worn this and he has said this. But the reality is, it's sad that it's become political. This is a president who's willing to work with every governor, Democrat or Republican. This is an administration that has provided everything the states have needed. States are navigating this differently. The governors have autonomy over their states.
Right, but how do you account for the fact that it's the United States of America that accounts for the 25% of the world's deaths?
Well, we do have more testing. We are seeing the mortality rates go down. We have passed 100 million tests. I feel like we are in the right space and moving forward with this vaccine. And the president has led us through uncertain times with the Democrat Party who's politicizing a time of crisis when usually people come together.
It is. I think there's a lot of people that take issue with most of what you said there, considering how the president continues to try to downplay the severity of the virus. We're still have a caseload that is much higher than the Western world. I mean, again, you can say all these things. The results speak for themselves. You compare us to the rest of the Western world, and we have failed. Is there any way to look at this and compare to the Western world and say that we've done better than other countries?
I will just tell you right now, if Democrats were in charge, if Joe Biden had his way, go look at his statements in January when he said the president was being xenophobic and hysterical for closing the borders to China. No, where's the outrage at China? As we're hearing more and more stories come forward and research coming forward that they knew about it earlier, that they weren't transparent. What about the WHO that had one job, Chuck, one job, to warn the world about a pandemic, and they failed?
You just said that the WHO didn't do enough to warn the world of a pandemic. The President of the United States has admitted that he's purposely downplaying the severity of this virus to not panic the public. So
no, Chuck,
both of your statements can't be true.
He's trying not to panic.
He said that.
He said that. It's amazing, right? Maybe who didn't want to get the world in a panic? So like the president didn't want to get the world in it. It is a completely ridiculous argument. There is really, folks, only one argument that makes sense. There's only one thing that needs to be said. All Western countries, America has most of the debts, period. Which means we as a country, in the way we implemented the solutions to COVID-19, have failed relative to the rest of the Western world. You cannot say that we were successful when others have been much more successful, when people have kept more people alive. Taiwan, 10 deaths, the entire country. Now let's get one other thing straight. You cannot claim that you were successful under these particular conditions, and there was only one person that was the president of the United States. That's Donald Trump. Don't let them give you a convoluted argument. There's only one truth. The one truth is, in America, there are near 200,000 people dead, and there will be by election time likely 300,000 people dead. And in the rest of the world, they are not seeing that. Let's not get into the weeds. State the fact. America, 200,000 deaths. The president lied about the severity of the disease. Punto y final. Don't let them spin and tell all these things. And remember, they want to bring in H1N1. That somehow somebody said that they didn't do all the things right. Well, again, H1N1, total deaths, I think, was 17,000 or something like that. Coronavirus, and it's still a pandemic going alive, 200,000. When they bring in a comparison in about H1N1, go ahead and accept the comparison. 200,000 dead versus a small amount of deaths. When they want to bring in Ebola as a comparison, comparing the Obama-Biden administration, always allow them to do the comparisons, because when the comparison is done, it shows competency versus incompetence. Competency versus incompetent. Embrace the discussion, but embrace the discussions on the correct terms. They have failed, and we can see the failure not in the amount of testing, but in the amount of dead Americans. Failure in the amount of dead Americans. Always remember that. Remember to frame Donald Trump's administration in dead Americans. Very, very important. Donald Trump equal dead Americans. Donald Trump equal poverty. Before I go any further, Michael Rudnin just went ahead and sent an NPR report here. NPR poll, financial pain from coronavirus pandemic, much, much worse than expected. And I was reading it as we're playing the video. Thanks for that find. That's an article dated September 9th. But here's the thing about that article. What this tells me is that we have to get off any other subject other than coronavirus and economy. Coronavirus and economy. And we have to reach these people and tell these people, you are voting for something. These people that are starving aren't voting for, what is it called? Law and order. They're not voting for law and order. They're voting for the next piece of bread and cheese. Well, I say bread and cheese in Panama. We could go buy a nickel. In my days, you could go out, buy a nickel piece of bread and a dime piece of cheese, and that's your breakfast. Then you go ahead, for the people who had issues, right? And in America, you have to go to a grocery store that is nice and put together and all. In where we're from, where Americans like to call the third world, I mean, you have all kinds of ways you have to do it to go ahead and make it. But getting serious again, what is important, what is so important, is for us to frame this entire 50 days in death and economic pain, all caused by this guy, his disregard, and his policies. And once we do that, we'll be fine. Once we do that, we have got it under control. There's a video that I want to show you. I didn't prepare it at all, but I just wanted to show you sort of the evil that's within this guy. I'm going to try to play. I'm going to do something that I normally don't do here because I've never tried it, but I'm going to try it now and see if it works, if I can get that video, because I want you guys to see the evil within this guy. Because a lot of folks, you talk and you're talking, but did he really mean that? Did he really say that? Well, let me show you what he did on Amen. Let me stop this here. I want you to see this. I kind of cut it. I started cutting it out, but I wasn't complete. But I don't want to wait for tomorrow to show you this, because this is important. And if you can see it, let me know. If you don't see it, let me know as well. Let me go ahead and put that on the screen. Yeah, it looks like that'll play. It turns out that Donald Trump was in Las Vegas yesterday, or close to Las Vegas, giving one of his speeches in a room with thousands of people stuck together with no masks. And while he's being interviewed, I want you to see what it says here, and then we'll take it on the other side. I didn't process it, but here we go. I think it'll play. Here we go.
There's also new criticism of President Trump today after his weekend trip to Nevada. The president holding his first indoor rally in months just outside Las Vegas last night, attracting thousands of attendees, many of them not wearing masks. One night after people lined up shoulder to shoulder for an outdoor rally in the northern part of the state. Now, the president was openly defying state rules which prohibit gatherings in groups larger than 50 people. Nevada's governor calling the decision to hold the rallies, quote, reckless and selfish. But in a newly released interview with the Las Vegas Review-Journal, Trump says he does not feel he is risking his own health.
Aren't you concerned about getting COVID, though, in an enclosed way?
No, I'm not concerned. I'm more concerned about how close you are, to be honest with you.
Sorry about that.
Because you know why? I'm on a stage that's very far away. And so I'm not at all concerned.
All right, joining me now is Nevada's Democratic Governor, Steve Siselek.
Now, I want you guys to understand what just happened there. A lot of people would just look at that and say, oh, that's good old Donald Trump. That is good old Donald Trump. But understand what just happened there. There's an outtake of a room filled with his supporters, shoulder to shoulder, breathing each other's breath. Some of them probably contaminated with COVID. There it is. It's full. A reporter comes to him to interview him. She gets a little bit close to him and said, aren't you kind of concerned about getting COVID? You don't have a mask on? And if you take a look at the room, there's at least a 12 to 20 feet barrier between the stage and all those people. And then you have the cops around that. And then the reporter, I don't know, she kind of got close on the stage. And she says, aren't you scared about coronavirus, COVID? Oh, no, because, but what I'm scared of is look at how close you may be a little bit too close to me. He's scared. He is acknowledging that she's too close to him, but he wants all of his followers down there packed right next to each other, killing themselves. Those are the images that we have to show to and remember earlier how I started the program? That is the image that you have to show your folks. Show your people that. Show your grandmother, your grandfather, your aunt, all of those who are wanting to support this guy. Show them that while he's there to protect himself, he's always tested all the time. He makes sure to stay away from people. He gets pissed off when somebody anywhere close to him is infected. And he showed there on camera that he cares about people getting close to him, but he doesn't give a rat's you know what of those people down there supporting him who may actually get hurt, who may actually get infected. Some of them who will die. Some of them who will die. Okay, protesters, let me qualify that. First of all, Lee Grant, the protesters, this has been researched, Lee Grant, it has been researched. The protesters, most of them, I like that, the political righteous, I like that. Most of them are wearing masks, the protesters. Take a look. Please take a look at the protesters. I have videos all over. They're wearing masks, and also they're outside. And they're outside and they're moving around. I mean, so it's not as dangerous as what Donald Trump is doing, especially given that he's showing himself to be maskless. So please, my brother Lee Grant, you are a very smart person. I would not want you as my friend to go out to see a Trump rally in those conditions. I don't want you. I don't want Tank 28. I don't want Daniel Ledo. I don't want all of you Trumpsters going to see him in that. Whether you are voting for him, I care too much about you to ask you to be as silly as your compatriots out there who went and did what they did. All right, Lee? So please, Lee, brother Lee, listen to me. Don't, you need to see a part of the interview I did yesterday. Stop looking for an answer to justify your position and try to find out if your position passes muster. Okay, I have a short one here, okay? Stephanopoulos, you know, the title of the show is that all these people were on TV and they were all getting shut down. Let me show you what Stephanopoulos did to this one here. This was a very good one. Check this out.
This is unheard of. And if it was typically going back to kind of the bureaucrats and the swamp monsters and the status quo we've seen from Joe Biden, they'd be going super slowly. You remember back in the swine flu, the H1N1, that even Biden's former chief of staff, Ron Klain, said that it was fortuitous, that they didn't have an absolute pandemic, something even worse break out, said they did everything wrong. Americans don't want someone like Joe Biden who did everything wrong the last time they had a chance. That's not deserving of a promotion.
I want to move on. I would point out only 17,000 people died during the swine flu. It's up to almost 200,000 now from the coronavirus.
So in other words, he says all those words, and then he says, okay, but under the swine flu, there were 17,000. Under coronavirus is 200,000. But I want you to see something, guys. I would also have said, well, look, if failure meant 17,000 deaths and success meant 200,000 deaths, give me failure. We're somehow redefining things here. That is the narrative that they're trying to put out. The narrative they were trying to put out is that, look, we didn't even do all the things right during H1N1, and we got a break here or there. Well, Donald Trump got a lot of breaks for coronavirus, but he never took the breaks. He saw what happened in Italy. He could have mitigated what happened in Italy. So what I love is he went back and said, hey, I like what Roberto Lewis did here. The politics done right crew. And I like that. You know why I like that? For branding purposes. Hey guys, would you like to stand for that? The Politics Done Right crew. Let's all be together. The Politics Done Right crew. And then we need to start nominating folks for the Politics Done Right crew. Who's going to run the Politics Done Right crew? Nominations for who's going to run the Politics Done Right crew. Come on, nominations. Let's go. Anyhow, I have another video to show you. This one is with Jake Tapper. Look at how Jake Tapper threw Peter Navarro off of his show. This was beautiful. And like I said, they had a tough weekend. Check this out. The spokespersons, check this out.
In February, nobody knew. No, nobody knew. Not the president, not you, not Nancy Pelosi, not Bill de Blasio.
He knew it was deadlier than the flu, and he was lying to the American people 2 weeks later.
Jake, you're cherry picking.
I'm not cherry picking.
Well, you can say, look, I think
look, here it is.
All of this is asked and answered, Jake. Look, here's the thing.
He was not honest with the American people. You're not answering the question.
You're not honest with the American people. CNN is not honest with the American people. CNN, you want to go there? I mean,
I said you're not answering the question. Here's the thing. Thank you, Peter Navarro. We just played tape. You didn't answer the question.
No, you can't say that.
You didn't answer the question. No, you didn't.
Repeatedly, Jake. You just didn't like the
Peter
answer.
Navarro, thank you so much. I appreciate your time today. Thank you so much. And I would just like to remind the American people watching that the United States has less than 5% of the world's population, and the United States has more than 20% of the world's coronavirus deaths. That is a fact. It does not matter how many times he insults CNN.
Jake Tapper, let me tell you something, Politics Done Right, an independent news program. Jake Tapper did what I think every single one of these cable networks should do. Every single one of those networks should kick him off. Whenever you ask a question and they lie or they don't answer, they should be kicked off of the stations. A lot of folks like Chuck Todd and these guys don't like to do that. And the reason they don't like to do that is they believe if they do that, they won't have those guests come back to their show. To which I say, that's fine. If the guest doesn't come to the show, you can create the story. And I bet they start coming to the show when you start telling the story in your words, and then they want to come and say, oh my God, we better sort of temper the story somewhat and put our side out. So no, they need, as Brother Dimitri says, grow some cojones. Hermano mío, qué palabra, qué palabra. Okay. Let's see, I got time, but I'm running out low on time here. I want to tell you guys something. Taiwan has done excellent. It's probably the country that has done the best. Taiwan and New Zealand. It's, I guess, mostly countries run by women, but this one particularly run by a man. I guess the only one that's doing well. Check this out, and then we'll take it on the other side.
You're an American-trained epidemiologist, a Johns Hopkins-trained epidemiologist. Were you surprised at how poorly America handled COVID-19?
At the very beginning, the contagious probability had not been well recognized. That's maybe the reason why at the very beginning people ignore it, and they also didn't consider that personal hygiene and social distancing and this avoidance of large gathering is very important. Unfortunately, you took a very strong effort to lock down a city, but city lockdown is not a good way. The very careful contact tracing and very stringent quarantine of the close contact are the best way to contain this COVID-19. And I think that we always learn from this the disasters, and I think the situation in the United States is getting better and better because a lot of the general public, they know how to fight against the COVID-19 very well now.
Now, your testing and tracing program has been lauded everywhere. Part of what made it succeed is you have a single payer system, so you have a single unified healthcare system, you have a health card, you have electronic information, all of it pooled centrally. Do you think that was key to being able to, detect cases and trace back to potential infections?
Yes, you are totally right. We did not lock down any city, and we did not do any kind of a mass screening. Instead, we do a very stringent close contact tracing and tracking. And we did not do mass screening, but we do a very careful testing of all the suspects with the compatible symptom and signs. And in this way, we consider it is more efficient and also more effective. And through this way, we definitely have to combine this home quarantine. We implemented 14 days on home quarantine for those who were close contact of confirmed cases. And this close contact has to stay at home for 14 days without going to anywhere. And among those 250,000 people who have been quarantined or isolated, basically 99.5% of them are following government's guideline very well. Only 0.4% of them got the penalty because they move out of their so-called restricted area.
When you're quarantined, it's not a voluntary thing in the sense that you are given some kind of an electronic device, a cell phone. You are placed in a hotel, and you are checked on. And if you are somewhere, if the phone rings and you don't pick it up, you've left the phone at home and gone outside, you are apprehended. It is a very strict quarantine. But by doing that, you were able to have no national lockdown. Businesses were able to stay open. Restaurants were able to stay open, right?
Yes. Basically, I always say that we have sacrificed 250,000 people's freedom. Everybody have the sacrifice for 14 days. But through this kind of home quarantine, we can assure that 23 million people in Taiwan, we can work normally, go to school normally, and live normally. So it's a kind of sacrifice of a small group of the people in the country, and then assure that all the other peoples at large, and they can live normally. And this is the way we try to contain COVID-19 and reduce the economic decline in Taiwan.
Where do you think we are now for the next few months? Is the virus, exhausting itself as some people believe? Is it still as virulent, and we still need to be as vigilant? How would you describe the next few months?
I think the first wave of this pandemic has not gone at all. It's still there and persists very well. And if we look at this, the number of increasing cases is still going on. So we have to be very careful.
Imagine if we had leadership. And the truth of the matter is we once did. Remember, H1N1 never blew up. Ebola never blew up. Because we had leadership, and we had some under Bush as well. I don't remember what pandemic was about to flare under him. Leadership. You don't have to love the president or any of that to have good leadership, to follow the science and solve these problems. But again, you notice what they also said. Taiwan has a single payer healthcare system. They have it centralized. And what happens then is people can go through. Now, I love Farid Zakaria. Rebuke all devils. You're so right. That was good reporting by Farid Zakaria. You know what drives me crazy? All the good information that you have from Farid Zakaria and others, they don't get the throughput that they should. Because there's nobody picking it up and putting it up. That is the reason I went and I clipped this thing. I like to watch Fareed, and I'm probably going to start pulling more of his stuff up as well. Nobody wants to quote it because, again, it doesn't get the clicks, right? But I've got to find a way to make it get some clicks, because this is such important information that we need to start getting these. If Americans understood how single payer is working around the world and how it is saving people's lives, we would not have the problem that we have today. Number one, with coronavirus and how to mitigate it. With I want my freedom. I don't want you to tell me to wear a mask. I don't want you to tell me to do this. Look at what he said. Everybody. It's a democracy. Everybody has an equal access to sacrifice and an equal access to not sacrifice. If you get infected, you sacrifice. If you don't, you don't. And the reason why I said it's still a democracy is because everybody has the same equal access to sacrifice when they have to be sacrificed. I mean, it is so simple. It is so simple. Folks, we're getting close to the end of the show. I want to remind you guys to please go out there and get my book. That is helping with our keeping our program going. So single payer means more taxes. That is a huge no word here. Single payer, actually, you know what? Let me tell you how you mitigate that. Single payer doesn't mean more taxes. Single payer means less taxes. Because what we need to call health insurance is a tax. If we define health insurance as a tax, and then we say we'll have single payer, look, check this out. We have health insurance. Everybody must have health insurance. So it's a tax. Now, if we then go ahead and say that single payer is much less expensive than regular health insurance, so it's a tax break for the vast majority of Americans. And that is how we need to start selling it. Anyhow, please, folks, go get my book as far as how we do conversations with the other side and even some on our side. I just put the link there, but if you're listening on podcast, just go to egbertowillies.com, and you can go ahead and click on books and get any one of our many books. Anyhow, folks, but again, please consider going ahead and get the book. And those of you that are on YouTube, surprise me. One of you surprise me and subscribe, become a member right now, and I'll see a green thing on the screen, and I can give you notice right now. If you go ahead and click that join button on YouTube, I'll see it, and I'll thank you right here for giving me a cup of coffee a month. If you do that right now, and I see a green button, you have about 3 minutes. Anyhow, folks, so yeah, the other thing that you can do is you can go ahead and support us via Patreon. Patreon, it's politicsdoneright.com/Patreon, and I'm putting that on the screen right now if it works. There we go. politicsdoneright.com/Patreon to become a patron of our show. You can also go to politicsdoneright. If you're not on YouTube right now, but you want to become a member on YouTube, here's the link: politicsdoneright.com/YouTube. politicsdoneright.com/YouTube. And of course, if you want to support us via PayPal, that is politicsdoneright.com/PayPal. politicsdoneright.com/PayPal. And of course, our store is at politicsdoneright.com/store. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but if you're on YouTube right now, you also see that you can see all our stuff, all our t-shirts and all of that. YouTube finally gave us a merchant rack. So now if you go to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/egbertowillies, you actually have our tray there now. So guess what you can get at our tray? T-shirts, mugs, all the things that you can get by going directly to our store. You can also get it there. Oh, there's more. Yes, AVQ, there's more. Check it out, AVQ. There is more. All right, folks, look, thank you so kindly. Thank you so kindly for spending this time with me. I know you have choices. I really do know that you have choices. I have a lot to say. You have a lot to say. We have a lot to say. We are going to win big in November if we get the message out. If we all do our part, it won't be close. Yes, there are sycophants out there that are anathema to any message that we present to them. but there are also a lot of them who will receive your message. There's a lot of your own families who will receive your message. So I ask you so kindly, remain engaged. Remain engaged with everybody, even if you think you don't like the person, or even if you can't stand that person, because that person is just thinking the way that you think they shouldn't. Engage the person and love the person. Sometimes that is a magic thing that's needed as well. You know, sometimes that's the magic. Sometimes that's the magic. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you know how I end this baby. I am what? Out. Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.